Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. We are in the new house. Sorry about the rattling. So we're here to talk about the Sony A7C. I've had it for a month now and let's discuss a few things. Let's go. Alright, so in my last video you saw me unbox the A7C and I spoke a bit about why I decided to get this. But if you didn't catch that video, a quick summary is I wanted the A7 III for a while, being a full frame camera that I knew had incredible potential. It's been out for a while, so there were plenty of discounts on it. And the thing that put me off it was the flip screen, or the lack thereof. It didn't really have a flip screen, it had a screen that moved slightly. Well, the A7C fixes that by having, obviously, a flip out LCD screen. So by having this flip out LCD screen, this allows me to, for instance, vlog. It allows me to take pictures like this, so I can see the screen. Say for instance, it's all the way down on the floor. You don't have to like crane your neck or your back over in order to be able to actually see it, which is extremely handy. Those are my main reasons for going for the A7C over anything else. Obviously there's the R6 and the R5, but they were plagued with problems, and I'm not gonna lie, but the price of the lenses was kind of putting me off a little bit as well. So I mean, I'm still using adapted lenses anyway. I'm using the Canon 24-70 most of the time on the A7C. That is one of my favorite lenses, and my favorite focal length or range, I suppose. The 24-70 is great for pretty much everything that I do. I do also have the 70-200, which you can see over my shoulder, and I also have the 10-20, which you can see over my other shoulder. I promise I didn't actually put those there on purpose. They're just, that's just how they ended up. Also, what do you think to the new setup? Do you kind of like where this is going? I haven't actually got this into Resolve to actually grade this yet, so I'm hoping this all works, but from first impressions, I think we're onto a winner. So my impressions of the Sony A7C after a month of using it. The camera itself is not actually quite as big as I thought it would be. The size savings, I feel, aren't actually that much of a problem. Like, we've only lost like the size of the viewfinder on top. And what people say about the replacement viewfinder here, I'm not really feeling it. Like, I like the viewfinder. I don't know what everyone's problem is with it. I think it's perfectly adequate for the camera that it is. And most of the time I've actually found myself using the LCD screen anyway, just because that's the kind of shooter that I am. One thing that does concern me is if I end up going with native lenses. I say if, but when I end up going with native lenses, this grip here, I'm finding that my fingers are really close to where the lens will be, and I'm wondering if any lenses will actually kind of impede my grip at all and stop me from being able to properly get my hand around it. I don't find the grip to be too small. I know it is a little bit smaller than on the A7 III, but I'm a fan. I like the way it feels. I tend to like to travel as light as possible, which is why kind of carrying the Blackmagic around wasn't always such a good thing for me, and why I did end up looking to upgrade my video specs from the M50 to this. The battery life on this thing, I've done full days worth of vlogging, I've done full days worth of like home, like renovation DIY projects with lots of 120p full HD footage, long sequences, recording that time lapse, and I've used one battery for an entire day. I am actually blown away by the battery capabilities of this camera, and I heard good things from my buddy Jake about how good the Z batteries were. Bloody hell, I've watched too much American YouTube. How good the Z batteries are in this camera, and I've got to say, I am not disappointed at all. One thing that is bugging me though is, and I'm not sure if it's the batteries or what. This is a genuine battery and I get the same problem, so it's probably not the batteries. But this camera tends to freeze a lot, and when I spoke to Jake, who has the A7 III, he says that that camera also does the same thing. It's quite interesting. It's when you generally change modes. It's not usually when you turn it off and on, but it actually means you've got to take the battery out and put it back in again. And a lot of the time you can wait, but it's just quicker just to do that. But obviously when you turn this camera on and off, you get the whole kind of, it checks the battery that you've put in and it goes running on NTSC. It's like it kind of does like a bit of a proper off rather than a standby. Now, having not used the A7 III, I can't really attest much to the improvement of things like the doors on this camera. However, I've seen them once or twice and I know they're crap, but these ones are great. Like these nice clicky doors that don't flap around and break off and everything. I'm a big fan of those, and for me, going from having your memory card in the battery door at the bottom of the camera to having it on the side is really handy. Also, major props to Sony, because that's where the microphone goes and it's not impeded by the screen, which is really nice. That's something that I really like. And something else I really like is the Ibis. Oh my god, I've never had Ibis before. I've now got Ibis and I am in love with this camera, especially combined with the image stabilization in this 24-70 f4. This camera is so stable with this combination. I was considering getting another lens, but I might stick with this just because that's phenomenal. I might stick with using this as my vlogging lens as well, because it's better than the 10-20 for image stabilization. It's just great. Like, I'm loving it. The only thing about the lens that's a problem is the focusing. So I'm using an adapter. I'm not using an MC11, the Sigma one, because it doesn't work with the Sigma 10-20mm lens that I like to use a lot. And I'm not using Metabones one because it's expensive and I don't want to spend all that money on that, basically, because I feel like it's extremely extortionate for what it is. So I've got a Viltrox one, I did buy a Comlight one, and I also bought a newer one, and both of them were crap. Like, I was planning on doing a video on them. I bought the focus chart, I was going to do speed tests between all of them. They just didn't work. Like, the newer one didn't work at all. Like, no autofocus, supposed to work. I tried updating the firmware, whatever. I might have a dud unit, but I'm not willing to test it out when the Viltrox one just works so perfectly out of the box. The only thing is it has two separate modes between contrast detection and phase detection autofocus, one of which works really well in photo and one of them which works really well in video. So if I have it on phase detection, video autofocus doesn't work at all. And if I have it in contrast detection autofocus, it's just a little bit crap in terms of photography. So there's that. I'm getting used to using all of like the picture profiles. Like, I'm currently testing out S-Log2 with S-Gamut, and I'm quite liking that. I haven't actually properly graded anything yet because I'm still like 2 weeks behind in terms of like the vloggy stuff. But I'm really enjoying the pictures. I'm really enjoying the camera itself. If you are thinking of switching from Canon to Sony, the menus are nowhere near as bad as what people make out. I've managed to get to grips with this menu system super quick. I'm not using this all day, every day, like most photographers will. Like, I have another day job that I spend most of my time on. I am using this camera as and when I can, as much as possible, for photography, vlogs at the weekend. You know, I've been doing some home DIY stuff that I've been documenting, and I've got to grips with these menus just fine. You can too. I don't get why people say they're awful. Like, they're really not that bad. People even say these Sony A7S III menus are awful compared to Canon. If they're better than these, I don't see what the problem is at all. So, yeah, I mean, those are pretty much all of my thoughts so far for the first kind of month of having this camera. You know, really nice to have pretty clean ISO, quite high up. It's pretty powerful in terms of that. Really good low light because it's a full frame camera. Sensor's massive compared to the APS-C I'm used to. Also, another thing to note, really handy having these 3 custom memory modes, as well as all the memory modes you can save onto the SD card as well. I just like that, the 2 dials. Yeah, I think this is a great camera. We're going to do some image comparisons soon of the Blackmagic versus this versus the M50, just to kind of give you an idea of like how these things can vary, because I think those are really interesting tests to do. But until that video comes out, that is the end of this video. Don't forget to like, comment, get subscribed, and light the bell to stay up to date for whenever I release a new video, which is weekly. And until the next one, see ya. I've got a bit of a longer way to travel, so bye.